Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Ultimate Doctor Who Marathon, where I take a look at every classic Doctor Who story, one episode at a time. And today we are starting the next Patrick Troughton story, which is The Faceless Ones. And we are starting on the 10th of November, 2017, with episode 1. This is the first story written by Malcolm Hulke, who will go on to write a couple of other stories I know of. And this first episode is one that actually exists, even one of two from this story that actually exists. This is also a 6-parter, and it takes place at Gatwick Airport with a lot of location filming, which I have to say looks pretty nice. It's nice to actually have real planes, and to be back. It's sort of nice to be back in the present day, and we actually get a feel for the present day England. And actually, I just quite like the way that the show has decided to make a point to get us back somewhere where it is somewhere that is familiar. And I think this is probably our third story on present Earth, and our second real story on present day Earth, and our first real alien invasion story on present day Earth. Mainly, I like the design of the villains. We get a quick thing, but there's quite a few problems with the episode. Mainly the fact that Ben and Polly don't do anything. Like, Polly finds a dead body, tells the doctor, they're running. Polly gets captured right behind the Doctor and Jamie, and they don't realize she's gone. They don't, not stop hearing her footsteps because they were talking on pavement, and that's dumb. But, again, this takes place in an airport. Jamie is hilarious. He is obviously outshining everybody else, mainly because, that's sort of what he does, and that being said, there's the episode goes on for quite a bit. That's really the big problem. There's this weird comedy bit with passports, which is kind of dumb, and everything just sort of falls apart a little bit. The cliffhanger's great as it's a monster reveal, and we see this sort of it's almost like they're like decomposed people. I don't think this is a zombie story, but it's sort of using sort of a zombie-ish idea. I don't know if they eat brains. I'm guessing they don't have faces. That's why they're called the Faceless Ones. That's the title of the story. Though oddly enough, I don't think that's actually been said. And we also have an evil airline, which is an interesting idea. Kind of dumb, in my opinion, but interesting nevertheless. And could probably lead to some good stuff. I hope. I really hope. And I hope that the story just sort of keeps itself entertaining and going onward to a good conclusion. It's a 6-episode story, so I don't know if it'll actually do that, and we don't have the best of starts. This is probably the weakest episode for quite a while. Macroterror 3 was a bit weak. But that being said, I'm going to give The Faceless Ones episode 1 a 7 out of 10, just because it's pretty good, and I'll be back tomorrow with episode 2.
Alright, it is the 11th of November 2017, and I just finished watching episode 2 of The Faceless Ones, and this one was actually a slight improvement on episode 1, even though it doesn't exist. Mainly because this one's actually sort of giving us a direction for the story. The last one had some double look-alike of Polly show up, and this episode mainly follows up that plot point with that, yes, this isn't the real Polly, it's almost a clone. The cliffhanger reveals that, resolve to see this faceless creature become one of the people who works for the airport. And I have to say that is a clever enough idea for things to be moving along in that way, with the airport being sort of the central sort of plot point for this story. We have the Doctor now sort of having to try to get himself into the good graces of airport security, and they still don't believe him, but there is a detective who has come, and we have a sort of new character, Samantha Briggs, who she seems like she might actually be potential companion material. She's an interesting character. She's looking for her brother who's missing, and she has a very flirtatious relationship with Jamie, who also gets the added bonus of getting to have sort of this journey of, I don't really get my surroundings, which I love. It's a great way to get Jamie into the story. He's just sort of doesn't get it. He doesn't really understand, like, the airport and why it works. He's also sort of trying to do this on his own while the Doctor is sort of off trying to weasel his way into things. And Ben is probably one of the weaker parts of the episode, as he goes to try and find Polly, but then he gets captured himself. So Ben and Polly are pretty much out of the action for this story. That's going to be interesting to see, because I hope we don't get another Dodo situation, because Dodo was really the last companion at a departure, when she didn't really get a departure. She just sort of, she up and disappeared halfway through her last story. Hopefully nothing really happens like that. But this episode has been great so far. It's been really a sort of a... It at least gives us the premise that we know. The Chameleon is the enemy. We don't know their plans, but we know that they're planning something, because people are disappearing, and it's playing up sort of the mystery aspect, which is a really good... Because the first episode was sort of the... sort of waiting for a rising action to happen. And this one is sort of actually what that rising action is, and just about where everything is going to be going from here is because of that rising action. And we're going to eventually get to a climax, and it seems like we're going to actually get a mystery story structure, which is an interesting idea that I quite like. Other than that, I don't have much to say, so I'm going to give episode 2 an 8 out of 10. I'll be back tomorrow with episode 3. Alright, so it is the 12th of November 2017, and I just finished watching episode 3 of The Faceless Ones, and I have to say that as an episode, it continues the trend of just sort of increasing quality as we go forward into the story. This one we are definitely moving towards, I guess, a climax. We have the Doctor actually being able to investigate chameleon tours without fear of real reprimand, as he doesn't have to be, as the Commandant will actually give him giving him a bit of leeway when it comes to where he can go and what he can do in the entire, in the airport. He's allowed to go on and, have things to do. It's not just a, right, we're no longer, it's like, right, you can't, because we have, we have things going on. We just sort of have the story basically being there for a bit of basically for the story to continue. We have everything trying to work it out, and just sort of having everything fall together. You have the Doctor really giving Patrick Troughton giving his all as the Doctor in this one, as he very much is good at having the performance. He continues to be a delight just to watch on screen, and it's great that this episode actually exists. There is a slight problem with it, mainly that as an episode, it doesn't really... it could have been tightened up a bit, and, we just could have had a bit more to do with, the entire story, and, that's fine that we don't have everything working. We have to try to keep itself, sort of light and breezy, and I love the cliffhanger of this one, that it's just all of our the teenagers are just, they're disappearing. They are not actually, they're actually being kidnapped. It's not just some silly little thing where it's like, no, that's not real. No, we actually have the Doctor and company being kidnapped and having themselves as a basically as a a way to get everything sort of stopped. That being said, the episode definitely does know how to keep your interest, and I'm glad it exists, even though some of it is not necessarily as in full existence, as there's a little bit that just doesn't exist at all. About 15 seconds worth. So, other than that, I would have to give the Faceless Ones episode 3 a 9 out of 10, just because it's a great episode. We have Patrick Troughton being great, Jamie being great. I really like this Samantha Briggs character, who is basically our other companion. What's weird is that both... Well, it's weird. There's Ben and Polly have both just disappeared for this one. So I don't know where we're gonna go from there. Like, they have quite a lot to do. It's just they've just disappeared. It's weird. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for Faceless Ones episode 3.
Alright, it is now the 13th of November 2017, and I just finished watching episode 4 of The Faceless Ones, and this one is again improving on the previous episodes. I didn't think that was quite possible, because the story seems to be working away its premise. And I feel like the next episodes might have some problems with pacing, but this one as itself is perfectly paced and perfectly plotted out to create what amounts to a pretty decent episode overall. Mainly, this one really is thrusting the plot forward as you have Jamie deciding to go right into the thick of it, as he and Samantha Briggs, who have been sharing a very, very kind relationship. They're very, very flirtatious. Jamie's like, right, I want to help the doctor somehow. I'm going to try to get on one of these flights because this is no job for a girl with his sort of Scottish sensibilities of the 1700s. Which is kind of funny, because there were a lot of female Scottish warriors of the time, but other than that, it sort of makes sense. So he kisses her, and she then kisses him again, and sadly, well, this episode doesn't exist, so we don't actually get to see it, because that would have been really something to see, like, the first on-screen kiss in Doctor Who, it seems, I think. This might actually be the first time someone's actually been kissed on-screen in the show. But he's like, right, and Jamie just acts hilarious when it comes to, the actual airplanes. Like, I don't know what this is. Someone help me. I'm going crazy. And it's hilarious and adorable all at the same time, because Jamie is just one of those characters who doesn't know, sort of the modern times, so you sort of get that feeling of him that he doesn't really get everything as it's going along, which I really enjoy the way the writers did this. The Doctor is actually doing a bunch more of investigation. He and Jamie at one point, they go into the health clinic after a James Bondian escape from, like, a thing that would, I guess it would burn them to death. It was a light. I wasn't the most clear on everything, but, it's just really kind of clever that we're doing this sort of espionage thriller sort of thing. We're infiltrating the villain's lair, and I really like you have that basically going to continue the story as well as it can. And what's interesting is that we actually end with Jamie on the plane, and the big cliffhanger that the planes, they aren't actually going out of the country, they're going up into the atmosphere onto a spaceship, which is a beautifully reconstructed in CGI. I think that for this image, this is actually a telesnap of what it looked like, so, I think it probably looked pretty decent, and if the reconstruction is anything to be held, it's a really good reconstruction. I also have to say, Patrick Troughton he has really fallen into the role by now. He really feels like the Doctor that we know and love, and I love the way he performs everything with, like, almost a giggle and a laugh, like, haha, everything's mostly fine. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but I'm going to tell you some of it, because some of it's important. And he just is really good. So the Faceless Ones episode 4 gets a 10 out of 10, because it is just that good. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is the 14th of November 2017, and I just finished watching episode 5 of the Faceless Ones. And as an episode, it is a slight step down from episode 4, mainly just because there's quite a few pacing issues, and the cliffhanger just sort of, it doesn't really give it, it doesn't, it's a cliffhanger, but it just sort of has the problem of stopping, and just that sort of idea of just having a cliffhanger there and just sort of ending it at a, right, we're just going to stop this thing. And we aren't really going to do anything to give us a reason to stop the thing. That's really where I have a problem with the clip episode. But other than that, the episode is, again, overall great. We actually have the plot progressing quite rapidly, as the doctor actually decides to stop messing about for a bit and just going ahead and being like, okay, we are getting we're actually going to try to get a plot and try to get the story to go somewhere and do something and not just sort of meander along a bit while we wait, and wait and wait. And that is something that I am very, very glad the story has actually decided to start doing, because that would just sort of possibly go a bit boring if we sort of petered out at the end of the story. This one keeps the thrust going with Jamie basically being captured by the chameleons and being questioned, and giving the chameleons answers about the doctor, while the doctor actually strong-arms Meadows, who is the chameleon working in air traffic control, basically into giving them all their information. It is, and you know, people may have a problem with that, but I absolutely love it, because basically what it does is it just shows that the doctor isn't afraid to do that sort of thing. Like, he really, really isn't scared to be like, no, I'm going to strong arm you, and you are not going to be messing with what basically is my favorite planet, because you really don't have the right to do that sort of thing. You're the invaders, and it's something that I really do like. I also have to say, this episode's real sort of villain is Nurse Pinto, who is an excellent villain. The actress who was playing her. I'm not quite sure who it is. She plays the role with just this gusto of sinisterness. Like, no. I'm going to keep my original line, but I'm going to hold everyone else's original hostage, because I don't want my skin to be. I don't want to be nervous about my own skin. No, everyone else. Oh, that's fine. You're just people. You don't need your originals to be there. Just go about your day. And that, of course, allows the doctors basically to come in and take her hostage. And, well, they end up, I think they kill her, because, I mean, they rip off the armband, which is sort of, I think it doesn't quite establish that it kills them, but I think it's murder. From the man who later in the David Tennant's, but the man who never would kill someone. Just doing some blatant murder in this episode, which is, fine by me in all regards. That sort of is what I like about the Doctor, and I really like Patrick Troughton's performance. And I like how we actually have the Commandant just sort of like, all right, Doctor, you just fix this. I give up. It's this lovely sort of just exasperated, like, I don't really care anymore. Just let me run my stupid airport, and you can keep doing what you're doing, I guess. I don't even know anymore. The world's sort of gone upside down for me, because, well, I had my airport invaded by fake people without faces. The Commandant it's a funny part, and I have to basically to summarize, The Faceless Ones episode 5 is an excellent episode. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10, and be back tomorrow with the conclusion for episode 6. Alright, it is now the 15th of November 2017, and I just finished watching The Faceless Ones episode 6, the final episode of The Faceless Ones, and I have to say that as an episode, again, it was perfect. The perfect way to conclude the story, and it was the first time we had a conclusion where the villains don't have to actually be defeated. The Doctor actually is able to convince the villains to come around to his way of thinking, and, it's not basically be like, hey, I know your planet was destroyed, and that sucks and all, but, you know, I can probably help, you know, you could probably find a new planet with new identity, I know how to help you. And he does, and it's a great way of finishing the... It is a great way of finishing the episode, simply because, well, as an episode, it deserves that sort of a finish. It really knows how to... it really knows, Malcolm Hulk and David Ellis know how to basically make the episode make you feel like, hey, this was an objectively good thing, and the Doctor actually did something really nice for the world. It was something that, you know, doesn't happen often, and I'm very, very glad that it did, at least this time, just because it gives you a happy ending. You don't have to see everything end up as death and destruction for once. You can find the world as a good, helpful, happy place. That being said, of course, there were no problems. There were also other things really like, Fraser Hines gets to flex his acting muscles, and he no longer has to be as rigid. He actually, you know, he gets the chance to flex his muscles and essentially just sort of clown around a little bit. He gets to be a chameleon, and it's great. Like, you have... Patrick Troughton is great, and Ben and Polly actually get a pretty good exit. They get their happy ending. This is the first time where they're actually taken back home the exact time that they left. This time, so there's really everything just wraps up in a nice little bow, and the story ends just with a happy ending. Really, it's mainly because we've had a lot of stories end with the villain dead, or even some where it's everybody's dead. This one is, you know, people are dead, but everything could be okay. And, that being said, I will give the Faceless Ones episode 6 a 10 out of 10, just because it's a good way to conclude the story. That being said, we can now average out each score for the episode to give the Faceless Ones a total score of 8.83 out of 10. Thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of the Ultimate Doctor Who Marathon. Please leave a like, comment, if you agree with me or disagree with me. It's totally fine. And please subscribe, as the next time on the Ultimate Doctor Who Marathon, we will be taking a look at what the next story for Patrick Troughton, the next televised story for Patrick Troughton, because that's what the story leads into, the evil of the Daleks.